One nation, attacked by every empire on earth, scattered across 70 countries, almost exterminated, and still here. This is not a coincidence. This is the most documented promise in human history, and it is not finished yet. 2000 BC. The city of modern-day Iraq, one of the most advanced civilizations on Earth. Ziggurats, writing systems, mathematics, astronomy, and a man named Abram hears a voice. Leave your country, your people, your father's household. Go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. He was 75 years old. His wife was barren. He had no children, no land, no nation, and he went, not knowing where. What happened next produced the most contested piece of land in the history of the world. God showed him Canaan, modern-day Israel. To your offspring I will give this land. That promise, made 4,000 years ago, is still the center of every war in the Middle East today. Abraham's grandson was Jacob. God renamed him Israel. His 12 sons became the 12 tribes. Through a series of events, betrayal, slavery, divine providence, the entire family of Israel ended up in Egypt, first as honored guests, then as slaves. For 400 years, the people of Israel built pyramids, built cities, built an empire for Pharaoh, while their own promise lay waiting in a land they had never seen. And then a baby was born. His mother put him in a basket in the Nile. He was found by Pharaoh's daughter, raised as an Egyptian prince, named Moses, the man who would free 2 million slaves, 10 plagues, a parted sea, the greatest escape in history, and 40 years in the desert, learning to be a nation, not just a collection of slaves. After 40 years in the desert, Moses died, within sight of the promised land. But unable to enter, Joshua took command. The Jordan River parted. For the second time in Israelite history, Jericho's walls fell, without a single weapon, just marching and a shout. And Israel entered Canaan, the land God had promised Abraham 2,000 years earlier. It took another 200 years of wars, judges, and cycles of faithfulness and failure before Israel had a king. His name was Saul, then David, then Solomon. Under Solomon, Israel controlled more territory than at any point in its history, from the Euphrates to Egypt. And Solomon built the temple on the same mountain where Abraham almost sacrificed Isaac, on the same mountain where today stands the Dome of the Rock, the most sacred and contested piece of real estate on earth. Solomon died. His son Rehoboam made the worst political decision in Israelite history. The kingdom split. Northern Israel, 10 tribes. Southern Judah, 2 tribes. They never reunited. The northern kingdom lasted 200 years. Then Assyria conquered it. The 10 tribes scattered into history, still missing. The southern kingdom lasted another 130 years. Then Babylon came. Nebuchadnezzar, the greatest conqueror of the ancient world. 586 BC, Jerusalem fell. The temple burned. The people taken to Babylon, in chains. By the rivers of Babylon, they sat and wept, and remembered Zion, and asked the question that every generation of exiles asks: has God forgotten us? 70 years. The prophet Jeremiah had said the exile would last exactly 70 years. In 539 BC, Babylon fell to Persia overnight, and the new king, Cyrus the Great, issued a decree. The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem. Any of his people among you may go up to Jerusalem. Isaiah had prophesied this 150 years before Cyrus was born. He even named him by name. The Jews returned. The temple was rebuilt, smaller, less glorious, but standing. And then, 300 years later, Herod the Great expanded it into something the ancient world called the most magnificent building on earth. Jesus walked in its courts, taught in its porticos, overturned the money changers' tables, and predicted its destruction. In 70 AD, to the exact stone, Rome fulfilled that prediction.
In the reign of Caesar Augustus, a baby was born in Bethlehem, in the land of Israel. He grew up in Nazareth, taught for 3 years, healed the sick, raised the dead, and claimed to be the fulfillment of every promise God made to Abraham. The religious establishment had him executed. Roman method, outside the city walls, on a hill called Golgotha. 3 days later, his tomb was empty. His followers called it resurrection. The Romans called it a problem. Jewish leadership called it a lie. Within 300 years, the Roman Empire that crucified him officially declared itself Christian. And in 70 AD, exactly as Jesus predicted, Rome destroyed Jerusalem. The temple burned, stone by stone. Not one left on another. 1 million Jews killed. The rest scattered to every corner of the earth. For 1,878 years, Israel ceased to exist as a nation.
Every nation that was exiled disappeared. The Assyrians exiled the 10 northern tribes. They were absorbed, gone. The Babylonians exiled other nations. They assimilated, ceased to exist. But the Jews, scattered across 70 nations, maintained their identity, their language, their customs, their prayers. 3 times a day, every day, for 1,178 years, they prayed facing Jerusalem. Crusades persecuted them. Inquisitions expelled them. Pogroms murdered them. Hitler tried to exterminate them. 6 million killed in the most systematic genocide in human history. And 3 years after the Holocaust, the impossible happened. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 8. Who has ever heard of such a thing? Can a country be born in a day, or a nation brought forth in a moment? Isaiah wrote that 2,700 years before it happened.
May 14, 1948. David Ben-Gurion stood in Tel Aviv and read the Israeli Declaration of Independence. 11 minutes later, the United States recognized the new state. 11 hours later, Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon declared war. 5 Arab armies against 1 newly born nation. With no formal military, no air force, buying weapons on the black market, they won, against all probability, against all military logic, against 5 professional armies. The new state of Israel survived, and the Jewish people, scattered across 70 nations for 1,878 years, had a homeland. The first Jewish sovereign state since 70 AD. Isaiah had described it, a country born in a day, a nation brought forth in a moment. May 14, 1948. The day prophecy became headlines.
1967. Egypt, Syria, and Jordan massed their armies on Israel's borders. Nasser announced he would push Israel into the sea. Israel struck first. 6 days. In 6 days, Israel defeated 3 armies, captured the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights, the West Bank, and Jerusalem. Israeli paratroopers reached the Western Wall and wept. For the first time since 70 AD, Jerusalem was under Jewish control. General Moshe Dayan stood at the Western Wall and said, "We have returned to our holiest sites. We will never leave them again." And the biblical clock that had been paused since 70 AD started ticking again. Jesus had said, Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. June 1967, the times of the Gentiles ended.
Israel won the 6-day war. But the wars didn't stop. 1973, Yom Kippur War. Egypt and Syria attacked on the holiest day of the Jewish year. While Israelis were fasting and praying, Israel almost lost, then won. 1979. Peace with Egypt, the first Arab nation to recognize Israel. The PLO, Hamas, Hezbollah, decades of terrorism, bus bombs, cafe attacks, rockets. 2023, October 7th. Hamas launched the largest attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust. 1,200 Israelis killed in one day, 250 taken hostage. The world watched and divided. Some wept with Israel, some celebrated. And the question that has always defined this conflict, who has the right to this land, remains without a biblical answer. There is no answer.
Here is what is remarkable. Every major event in Israel's modern history was predicted in the Bible, centuries before it happened. The scattering, Deuteronomy 28, you will be scattered among all nations, from one end of the earth to the other. The persecution, Deuteronomy 28, you will find no resting place among the nations. The return, Isaiah 11, he will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The nation born in a day, Isaiah 66, Jerusalem in Jewish hands, Luke 21. And what comes next is described in detail. A peace agreement, a third temple, a man who enters the temple and declares himself God. Then, the return of Jesus to the same Mount of Olives he left from, Zechariah 14. And the final question, if every other prophecy came true, what are the odds the remaining ones won't?
2026. Israel is 78 years old. The only democracy in the Middle East. A global technology leader, with the strongest military in the region and the most contested land on earth. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem has already made the sacred vessels, trained the priests. The red heifers, required for purification, have been brought from Texas to Israel. Record numbers of Jews are ascending the Temple Mount. Israeli government ministers are calling for Jewish prayer rites at the holiest site on earth. And in Gaza, a war that began October 7, 2023, continues, reshaping the entire region. Iran, modern Persia, publicly calls for Israel's destruction, while secretly building nuclear weapons. Russia, China, Iran, Turkey, the nations described in Ezekiel 38 as gathering against Israel in the last days, are aligning right now, in our generation. And Jesus said, when you see these things begin to happen, look up, your redemption is near.
This is not just Jewish history. This is the story of God keeping his word. He said he would make a nation from Abraham. He did. He said they would be scattered. They were. He said they would return. They did. He said a nation would be born in a day. It was. He said Jerusalem would be in Jewish hands. It is. And he said, through all of this, the whole world would be blessed through Abraham's offspring. One specific offspring, who was born in Bethlehem, died on a cross outside Jerusalem, rose from the dead, and promised to come back to the same nation, the same city, the same mountain. The story of Israel is the story of a God who makes promises and keeps them, every single one. And the last promise is still coming.